Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the 1Mby1M podcast. Today, I'm here with Bill Bice from Verge Fund. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Well, let's start getting acquainted and also introducing you to our audience. Let's learn about Verge Fund. Tell us about yourself, about Verge. What is your investment thesis? What are the preferences? How big is the fund? Let's just get to know one another.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot by listening to your podcast, and I really love what you are doing. We share a lot of philosophy in common. So I really feel like I was born an entrepreneur. I'm just like Bill Gates. I dropped out of college to start a software company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The difference is Gates dropped out of Harvard. I dropped out of the University of New Mexico. He created a company called Microsoft. And the reason he and Alan were in Albuquerque is because this is where the first personal computer was invented. And of course, he was the world's richest man for a long time. And other than that, it's exactly the same path. I created a company at age 18, which is really the only way in which I've beat the other Bill, called ProLaw Software, which is an ERP system for law firms. And being 18, I thought I knew it all. So it took me a really long time to figure out how to actually build a company. But eventually, I got a great team and figured out how to do that. And this is a company that we built purely through bootstrapping into an 8-figure revenue company, and sold it to the kind of 800-pound gorilla of the legal market west, which is a division of what's now Thomson Reuters. And that's really where I fell in love with the vertical market approach. I've built 3 more divisions or companies within the legal market since then. And what we're really focused on are opportunities that come out of this unique region that we're in New Mexico. It's really an emerging market that is in the middle of flyover country, has the benefit of the U.S. legal system, and has huge opportunity. We've got $7 billion in R&D that happens here every year. The 2 largest national labs in the country, Sandia and Los Alamos, several major research universities, and all of the technical infrastructure and all the companies that support all of those entities. And not nearly enough commercialization happens. So even if you take out the, say, $2.5 billion that's around blowing things up, that still leaves a tremendous amount of R&D and not nearly enough activity of taking that to market. So what's missing here are the entrepreneurs that know how to do that and the capital to support them doing so.
So very interesting. The context that you just set to position New Mexico as an innovation, as a greenfield innovation opportunity is very interesting. Now, what about the nature of the types of companies that you see there? Is that different from, or is it particular in any particular way because of the kinds of research labs that are in that geography?
Yeah, it's a great question. It really is. And so our focus has been geography driven. So we really don't have a sector or an investment thesis driven by a particular view of the market, because we're really leveraging this unique opportunity. And what we're focused on are the things that come out of that environment. So there's a tremendous amount of life sciences here, a lot of software as a service, an area that we work in that we call human factors, which is sort of non-regulated life sciences, a lot of work in lasers. So it is a science-heavy driven area, and I can give you some specific examples of companies that really represent that.
Okay, great. So before we get into that, let's get the fund specifics. How big is your fund, and what is your preferred investment criteria?
Yeah, so we're an early stage fund. We're really so my partner, Tom Stevenson, was the first VC in the state of New Mexico, and he really took a different approach in building the firm, which was bring together a partnership of entrepreneurs that have all built and had, built companies and had successful exits. And so we're really using the fund structure as a way to do what we would do anyway, which is go build and invest in companies. So we're a small early stage fund. We have a total of $40 million under under management. Many of us also, I invest as an angel investor in addition to that. And the difference in philosophy compared to sort of the traditional VC model is that we're not after the 1 in 10 or 1 in 15 big win. We're really going for singles and doubles with the intention of, you do that enough, you're eventually going to get a triple or a home run that comes out of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how big is the fund then?
Total of 40 million, which
40
includes
million.
the follow-on fund, which is what we're investing out of right now.
And what is the check size that you like to write normally?
So our average total investment is about $1.5 million, and typically starting in the few $100,000 for the first investment.
And I'm sure this is going to be sector specific, but what do you like to see by way of proof points in the companies that you go into?
It's an interesting question in this market because we're opportunistic on a regional basis as opposed to having a really driven philosophy around the investment criteria. So what I'm really looking for are companies that have the, what everybody wants. We want a fast-growing company. I'm particularly interested in something that can have a significant impact here that ties into the advantages that we have of being in New Mexico, which is leveraging that technical infrastructure. And this is also a really great ecosystem to build service companies that sort of sell everywhere else. And I've essentially made a career out of doing exactly that. It's basically an arbitrage play because we've got a much lower cost of living. We have a great way of life, and we've got a large enough ecosystem now that it's much more realistic to recruit external talent into New Mexico. That was much more challenging just 5 years ago. And so those elements are starting to really come together in a way that makes this a lot more interesting.
So now, in terms of the sectors that you like to invest in, you have you described the sectors that are active in New Mexico. Does that mean that you are active in all of those sectors, life sciences and software as a service and human factors?
Yeah, and the other one is material science, which is fairly significant just because of the research that's done here.
Okay. So let's take SaaS for a moment. If you were to look at a SaaS company, what would you look for? Would you look for MRR metrics, ARR metrics? Would you look for, just a proof, just a minimum viable product? What is your comfort zone to get into a company?
Yeah, so I'm often working with an entrepreneur at the earliest stages. I'm not likely to be interested in investing until they've hit, the sort of standard 10K and MRR per, the kind of things that everybody looks for at this point. But a big part of my incentive and what I love to do is to really help entrepreneurs get to that point. And one of the things that I absolutely agree with you on is, 99% of the entrepreneurs that I work with should never raise outside money. It's a better use of your time to go sell customers than it is to spend talking to angels and VCs that are, in the end, just going to screw up your company if you really don't have the right fit.
Right. So, so you would invest, though, the ones that you think may have potential to become venture scale companies, you would invest at a pre-revenue stage, you're saying?
Yes, and we have, and we've had to, because when we started our firm, if we wanted to have a company to invest in, we had to go put it together. We either had to start it or find the entrepreneur and find the technology and put those pieces together in order to have a viable investment. That was the very early stage of ecosystem building here, and now that's really paid off, and there's a tremendous amount of activity relative to that. So, as an example, I helped start the first accelerator in New Mexico called ABQID, and now we've got 7 or 8 accelerators that are cranking out a ton of great companies, including creative startups, which has been expanding nationally. Meow Wolf came out of creative startups, and if you if you haven't seen Meow Wolf, it's just incredible immersive entertainment company.
Mm-hmm. How many startups are active in New Mexico currently?
I don't have a number off the top of my head, but we just did a little research project to see how many open positions there were at technology companies here, and we came up with about 1,500 in Albuquerque, not statewide.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So that's running across a good number of startups. There's a lot of much later stage startups that have all come into the forefront in the sort of over the last 5 years.
That's awesome. And how much do you think, what would be the split between life sciences and information technology? Where is the sweet spot?
There's a really nice selection of both. So there is a great incubator here that's focused on life sciences, the Bioscience Center, that has really leveraged those opportunities. So anybody who's interested in life sciences, that is the perfect place to go visit and see all kinds of amazing companies. So I don't know what the split is, but there's tons of opportunity on both sides.
And when you use the term life sciences, are you talking about biotech, pharma, and digital health, healthcare IT, or is there a specific?
Yeah, I'm being pretty inclusive. So that includes drug development through the whole technology infrastructure. One of our biggest successes was a medical device company called IntelliSite that came out of the University of New Mexico.
Okay. All right. So now let's do some examples from your investment portfolio. What have you invested in? What are the highlights of your portfolio? And as you describe them, tell me what state did you encounter these companies in, and what attracted you to them?
So let's start with IntelliSite that I just mentioned, which was a non-existent, pre-revenue, pre-LLC company. So my partner, Ray Radosevich, found the technology at University of New Mexico, helped match that with entrepreneur Terry Dunlay, who had experience out of this market, moved to New Mexico to leverage that opportunity. And it was research that the NIH had funded at UNM. And what they did is took a core technology that's well known, flow cytometry, and they made it a couple of orders of magnitude faster, which meant that you could apply it to a whole bunch of new things, including personalized medicine. So MD Anderson in Houston uses IntelliSite in order to find the right drug cocktail combination to give to somebody who has, tested against their cancer cells out of that one patient, and instead of guessing, give them what actually produces the best results.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the sort of classic, build from the ground up and invest every step of the way. And frankly, that's a really long road to hoe. We were in that company for 10 years, and it kind of fully illustrates the opportunity and challenge of being in Albuquerque. So it's the largest VC-backed exit that we've had to date in Albuquerque, and it was a good exit for us. But at the same time, it was a $90 million exit, and that's the largest one we've had so far.
But that's not a problem, I'm sure you know from my writings that I don't consider that as a problem at all. I think for an up-and-coming region, those kinds of exits are fantastic. And if you have a few of those kinds of exits, that's just exactly what the doctor ordered.
Well, they are fantastic. What it hasn't done is, so you recently talked about the ecosystem in Salt Lake City and Provo, and it's completely acceptable to be a Valley VC firm and invest in a Provo, Utah company. You're not going to get, thrown out of your window, and well, it wouldn't be that far if you're on Sand Hill Road, but it's completely acceptable to invest there because there's been enough exits of a large enough size that it's a very reasonable thing to do. The way we're building the ecosystem is through those, much more standard. I mean, the vast majority of acquisitions are 10 to 50 million. And the VC industry investors should really be built around those kinds of companies as opposed to everything as a unicorn.
Right. That's right. And I've, spoken ad nauseum about this topic, as you know.
And you need to, because it needs to break through.
Yeah, nobody's listening. Otherwise, unless you hit the nail on the head over and over and over and over again and keep, harping on this topic, nobody is listening. So yes, I've been talking about
and
this
I completely
for
agree with
15
you,
years.
because that's how we get Silicon Valley style innovation spread across the rest of the world, and it's focusing on those $10 to $50 million exits.
Right. Okay. You want to talk about one of your information technology investments?
Certainly. So the company that I'm running right now is a great example of that. Boomtime. It's in our Verge portfolio, and it really came from my experience of all the companies that I've built and invested in, and just really getting frustrated with getting great marketing for those companies. Go to market is really where the failure point is. The reason a company doesn't achieve what its potential is because it's just not able to consistently and effectively execute on go to market. So we are working really hard to put scale and efficiency and make marketing a reproducible process. And so the way I talk about it is, if you have a business and you want help growing, there are literally thousands of options out there to help you, which is another way of saying that nobody's actually gotten that great at doing it. And that's the problem that we're tackling. And so what we've done is built a marketing automation system that, instead of being designed to be implemented in one company at a time, automates whole industries at a time. And the data advantage that we get from that is really significant. So internally, we're a SaaS company, but externally, we deliver marketing as a service.
Okay, so it's the do it for me instead of do it yourself.
Yes, and it's really the thing that's missing in a tremendous amount of the marketing technology that's been put out there. I mean, great companies, but in our experience, only 7% of small business owners actually are willing to do the work to do their own marketing. So we're interested in the other 93%.
And do you do this as a vertical? Are you focusing on a particular vertical, or is it across the board?
Well, we are vertical oriented, and we've gotten there by working with a lot of different companies in order to see, and it's really about high ticket items. So we tend to specialize in areas where what the company is selling is a high ticket, high impactful item. And part of that's because it's easier to judge that it's working, but also the techniques that we've developed that are really all around word of mouth marketing have work really well in that area. So it's a lot of B2B. This was one of the companies I was referring to is coming back into legal, so that's a strong vertical for us. The issues around B2B are sort of the same for any small sales team of 5 to 20 people. So we look at that as a vertical, even though it covers a really wide range of businesses from a sort of standard vertical definition. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Is there something that I should have asked you in the context of the New Mexico ecosystem and your work as investors in that ecosystem that I haven't asked you?
Well, there's actually a really great opportunity here because the state of New Mexico has a permanent fund that invests in venture capital funds. And so a fund that is willing to put in the time and effort to look at deals here has a built-in LP that is very interested in investing in them. And of course, you have to do the hard work of actually investing in companies, but it's a great opportunity.
How many venture funds like yourselves are operational in the New Mexico area?
Well, in terms of headquartered here, that's where the real problem is. There's really only 2 or 3 that are headquartered here, but then there are a number of firms that have gotten an investment from the state that put time and effort into the ecosystem here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, we would love to see more companies from your geography. So, how we work. We work with our, roundtables where anyone from anywhere in the world can come and, present their companies. So if you think there are companies that want to be featured in those, please send them over, and we'd love to see them and give them more visibility. If you have companies that have crossed $5 million in revenue, then definitely send them over. We can even put them in our Entrepreneur Journeys, interview series, and that's a really big feature story that we do on companies that have crossed $5 million in revenue. We'd love to cover the region more.
Yeah, and I think that's a great opportunity. It's really good for entrepreneurs to hear and see the very significant community you've built of people who are building companies all over the place.
Yeah, and what we did with Utah, you talked about Utah earlier, is something that we did extensively, is to give Utah companies a lot of coverage and a lot of, so if you go to our Entrepreneur Journey series on the blog, on the 1Mby1M blog, you'll see a lot of Utah companies. We've done that with Arizona. So we know how to kind of put a spotlight on a region and show companies that are succeeding in that region, give them, some visibility and so forth. And that always helps in making that visible to the community, and it's recognition from Silicon Valley. So that's also got a good, good halo effect to it.
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity, and there's a number of companies that I will recommend do exactly that.
Sounds great. Well, wonderful talking to you, Bill, and it's great to hear of a new ecosystem, coming up in a different part of the world where it hasn't been such a big high activity zone yet, but it sounds like in the next 5 years it will become a very active, successful entrepreneurial geography.
We are working hard at it, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing to make that happen.
Fantastic. Audience, thank you for listening today. We will be back with another edition of the 1Mby1M podcast. And in the meantime, remember the roundtables. Bring your projects. Those are working sessions. We can work on your strategy and also give you visibility through those. So we'll see you soon in one of those sessions.